Hi everybody, my name's Anna and today I'm going to be talking about pretty privilege and people just what is everyone's opinion on pretty privilege? There's been a lot of discourse talking about pretty privilege. Oh, pretty privilege is a curse, it's a blessing. Well, I believe pretty privilege is actually an amazing thing if you actually can use it in a good way. If you can actually use it in a biblical way. And a great way is the book of Esther. And I really love Esther because she is really the embodiment of, at the end of the day, I mean, she was known to be an objectively really pretty person, but pretty wasn't her, entire thing, her entire brand. And here's the thing when it comes to distinguishing, pretty privilege for the Lord and pretty privilege when it's not used correctly. Because, and you might be like, okay, what's pretty privilege not used correctly? It's basically when you make pretty your entire brand. Look at all these artists in the world. Look at all these rappers, all these musicians. And even these actresses, especially in Hollywood, a lot of them can probably testify to how they've been objectified and, all these things. Now, sometimes it might not be their entire fault because sometimes it could be their management. But when you push pretty to be your entire brand, your entire everything, then it really starts to become an issue because then, and unfortunately, this is really bad. I believe we should not be talking about anybody's, body at all, and it sucks, but that's a society, unfortunately, that we live in. When you make pretty your entire brand, people like, even if the slightest, differences occur, they will comment on that because you've made pretty you or your management have made pretty your entire brand. And it really sucks, but that is unfortunately the reality. Look at Ice Spice, Ice Spice is a very pretty girl. But when she lost weight, when she changed her hair black, because unfortunately, she made pretty her brand. And, it sucks. But so when these changes happened and occurred, people, just had to comment. They had to comment, and it sucks, but it is the reality. But here's the thing. When you are using your, privilege, because again, pretty privilege is a beautiful thing, okay? I believe everybody is beautiful. I know every time I say this, people are like, oh, here she go again, da 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 da. But I really do believe that. But we can't lie. There are people who are conventionally attractive in terms of, just for, in terms of just world society in general. And that sucks, but it is what it is. And at the end of the day, people, they're going to find that attractive and they're going to gravitate toward that. But when it comes to, the biblical term of, just, using your pretty privilege, here's the thing. When you are serving the Lord, when you're serving Christ, in fact, and you are objectively an attractive person, you will never be known as just an attractive girl. Like, you are going to have so much more to offer. Look at the book of Esther. Yes, Esther, she was very pretty, but her destiny did not just end with pretty because she used that beauty. She used that beauty, which attracted the king, which she needed because that was God's will. And then she used that to objectively help save her people, save the Jews. So that is, an important factor. She really used it for the purpose of God's kingdom. She didn't make it her brand. She didn't use it to, she did not use it to do all that. She did that for the purpose of his kingdom. And she did that for the purpose. So, at the end of the day, people are like, oh, pretty privilege, da, 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 it's a curse. No, pretty privilege is not a curse. I don't know why people are lying to you, telling you it's a curse. It's not a curse. It is a blessing. And at the end of the day, if you are using it right, then I believe it is an amazing thing, especially in terms of the world. And I know people like, there's a lot of beautiful women, they come out here and they're like, yeah, but like, all these, the right men, they don't want you, da, da, da. They only want to play in your face, And let me tell you something, when you are pretty and when you are smart, that is a very dangerous combo. An extremely dangerous combo to have because it ultimately puts a threat, you're a threat to people. And, but that is really the price, at the end of the day. And here's the thing, again, people are like, oh, well, the right man don't want you, da da da. Here's the thing, and I always tell people this, I always ask this question. People get so riled up, but I always ask. At the end of the day, I'm a firm believer, at the end of the day, you can be what you attract. So, or you entertaining, again, I'm not talking about the ones that are like, they're like saying trigger warning, but saying all of those things, because that is a completely different case that they're I'm talking about just in general, like you're just actually allowing it, being in these situationships and all these things. So I always have to ask that question. But if that's obviously not the case, if you're not, if you don't care, you just generally want to find a good person, you're not, because people say, oh, we live in a society where people like to claim they're nice people, they're kind people, but in reality they just aren't. That's just the reality we live in. But at the end of the day, though, if you are just trying to find a genuine relationship and stuff like that, at the end of the day, maybe it's something you got to look back in your lineage. Because again, generational curses are a thing. And again, that will be another video upcoming soon. Generational curses, why are things happening to you, and it ties back to my very first video that I made. At the end of the day, these things are real. These things are real. And I'm a firm believer in that. So maybe you got to look back in your lineage. Okay, maybe did my mom marry a Dusty? Did my grandma marry? Just you have to look into all these things, and maybe get deep down into the root of the issue on why you're not attracting your God ordained spouse, or why you're not attracting a good partner for you potentially, and all these things like that. But at the end of the day, I, feel like at the end of the day, it is a beautiful thing. Pretty privilege is a beautiful thing. I don't understand why people are trying to say it's a curse. I feel like if you are using it right, and the thing that separates, use the pretty privilege in terms of, biblical, like when you're reading, the book of Esther again, because that is a very great example. In terms to when you're using your pretty privilege in terms of the worldly standards, the difference that really differentiates those two is that when God is using you as the forefront because you're pretty, you will never be known as just being pretty. You're gonna have so much more to offer than that. Okay, yeah, maybe be like, oh yeah, she's pretty, but she did this, that, the third. She did this at the third for, people. She did this at the third for somebody else. But when you're saying in terms of worldly society, of course they're gonna come on you. Of course, you're only gonna be known as pretty. And here's the thing. We all grow old, okay? And when we all grow old, what are you going to have to offer after? Because you've used your and I get it, people, they make bank. That's the world we live in. People make bank off just being pretty, and it's really sad because when they grow old and when the next person that is younger than them and more prettier than them comes along, then it's like, okay, people are going to forget about you and what do you have to offer? And that's what really separates biblical, the biblical way of, using pretty privilege to your example versus the worldly way of using pretty, as, to your advantage. Because at the end of the day, we all we're all going to grow old eventually. But it's like, what are we going to have left? You're going to either just be known as being a pretty person, or you're going to be known as, just, having so much to offer, making an impact, an impact to society and all these things. And, that again is what really separates that. So pretty privilege is an amazing thing if you can use it correctly, if you can really use it to your advantage. At the end of the day, I believe, that really is a thing. And yeah, you got to be smart with it. You got, at the end of the day, you don't want to be known as somebody just pretty. Yes, being pretty is a beautiful thing. But at the end of the day, that should not be your only thing. That should not be the only value to you. So yeah, stay tuned for more.